Welcome to this new video, and this video is basically a continuation on a video I made last year about the Samsung Drive from the original Xbox, and a little bit of context about the disk drive, just in case this is the first video you are seeing about this drive, is that this disk drive does not read any disk, and yeah, of course that is a common problem in these Xbox DVD drives, but this one is a little bit more weird than just not reading the disk. So what happens is if I put a disk in the drive, and it could be an audio CD or just a regular Xbox game, then it doesn't read it, but it doesn't give me the disk error, and it also doesn't attempt to read the disk at all. It just kind of stays on the main menu and doesn't do anything. And then if I try to eject the disk, then it doesn't want to eject. So it starts blinking the green light, but yeah, I need to press it a couple of times really quickly for it to actually eject. So that's definitely strange behavior. And what's even more weird is that if there is no disk in the drive at all, then it will show me the disk does not read error. Then there is no disk at all. So that is very strange, and that's why I wanted to make a video on it last time. And yeah, the recap of the video is that before I started recording, I already checked the resistor arrays, which are close to the IDE connector, and I did find one that had a bit of a off reading. So the resistor read only 750 ohms when it should be 1000. So I put a 1000 ohm resistor, which now in place of the one that read 750. But unfortunately that did not change anything. And when I first started working on it, the first thing I noticed is that there were some weird spots of corrosion around the board, which were a little bit on the side of the motherboard. It did not have any consequences on the tracers, so the tracers were still gave me continuity and it all read perfectly fine. So I scraped away the corrosion and I put some solder mask on. It also did not change anything in the behavior of the disk drive. And the main thing I did in the video is that I did a recap, because I suspected that maybe there was something faulty in there, because it's been more and more common knowledge recently that doing a recap on these Xbox disk drives may resolve the reading error instead of replacing the laser. So I replaced all the caps, and I also read out the old caps, and they were definitely a bit out of spec, at least based on my little knowledge. But one thing I noticed while I was doing a recap, so when I took off all the old caps, is that on the 47 microfarad cap was shorted on the positive side. So if you are a bit familiar with electronics, then you know on the negative sides you have a ground on with the capacitors, and then the positive sides maybe reach 600 ohms, for example. Yeah, but here I had a short on the plus side, and the negative side did not really read anything. I think that one read between 600 and 1000 ohms. So that did not make sense at all, and was really strange, and unfortunately removing the cap did not solve that at all. So I think after the recap I kind of concluded the video, and I said I wanted to take a look at it later, and yeah, right now I finally have the time to do that. So now you have a bit of the context on this video, and I will further explain what I'm going to do in this video. I have already recorded all of the video. Unfortunately the audio got corrupted, so that's why I'm doing a voiceover and giving you a bit of the context. So I will talk you through what I did for part 2 of looking at this disk drive, and yeah, at the end you will see what the end results of that are. So after the trace repair on the 74 microfarad capacitor, the first thing I did was visually inspecting the main chip, so the main chip of the disk drive motherboard. And what I noticed, I don't think it's very visible in the video, but it looked a little bit corrosive. So there were some white spots on some of the pins, and when I touched them it seemed to be moving slightly. So they may have been still connected, but it looked a little bit sketchy to me. So I decided the first thing to do was to just reflow each of the pins with a soldering iron and enough flux to reinforce that connection and to ensure that the chip is not going to be a liability in the future and that it cannot cause any weird problems. But unfortunately, only reflowing these pins did not fix it, but it's never a bad idea to do that. So the next thing I try to do after reflowing the main chip is taking a look around the board to see if anything looked off. And then my eye caught this chip. I'm not really sure what the main goal is of this chip. There are some little bits of text around the chip. One says something with the disk tray open and eject, so I think it's responsible for opening and closing the disk drive at least. I'm not sure if it has any other significant role. And what I noticed about this chip is that it looked a little bit off. So you see that the chip has legs on two sides of the chip, and it looks a little bit screwed if you look from above. So I compared it with a screwdriver, and on one side the screwdriver completely aligned to the pins, on the other side it was sticking a bit out. So I thought maybe it was not soldered properly, or it needed a bit more of a better connection. So I decided to take the hot air and to try get it off. And essentially I repositioned it so that it would be perfectly in the middle. And after that I did a reflow, and after that it was perfectly straight. And there's not much more to this process, so I will just let you see how I did that and how the process went. So after all that work on the chip, we are going to test it right now. You need to have my word that I am testing the actual Xbox, but I don't really have a stand for the camera, so I wasn't really able to get a good angle. And as you can see on the screen, the Xbox does turn on as normal, so far so good. It is kind of fortunate that I do not have the audio with me, but as you can see, hopefully right now it still keeps on having the same error. And at this point I tried to eject the disc, and I was smelling something really foul out of the Xbox. I didn't really notice it at first, but it became much stronger the more time, and I had to conclude that it was coming from the disk drive. And the disk drive would refuse to eject again. but I had to shut it off before anything worse would happen. And yeah, in the next part we are going to take a bit of a look in depth at it, and you can see what happened inside of the motherboard with the chip we just worked on. Okay, so this did not go as expected. So you just saw me replace this chip so that it was connected on this side as well as on the other side. So I went to turn it on and it turned on fine. I did not get any errors or whatsoever. Then I tried to eject it and it refused to eject it. And then I smelled something very foul coming from the Xbox. So yeah, then I turned it off really quick, and yeah, the whole disk drive was completely hot. If I felt it on the metal plate right here, it was really hot. So I just opened it up and yeah, look at this. You can see that it has completely melted up here, and it even has dripped down on the sides. I will now put this on the microscope so you can see it a little bit better. So here it is on the microscope, and yeah, as you can see right here, it has literally melted down, and it has even burned down some of the plastic of the chip right there at those 4 pins in the middle. As you can see right here. And if I go a little bit lower, you can even see on this side there are signs of flux. So this chip has, God knows how hot this has become. So yeah, definitely that was not the right thing to do. And yeah, I'm only recording this so that you do not make the same mistake as I did. I will never ever touch this again, because this was not the right thing to do. I think I'm very lucky that only this chip got affected and the rest seems seemingly fine. I did not really feel any hotspots coming from anywhere else, so it must have been only this chip. But yeah, apparently the way it was soldered was completely intentional by design. And yeah, I don't know what to do with this right now. But yeah, tip for me, do not make the same mistake. Oh, it just completely smells like solder and plastic. It's disgusting. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to connect this anytime soon. I will call this, I will definitely keep this for parts for now. But yeah, I'm not going to do anything else with this one. So you just saw the original recording after I stopped testing the disk drive because it was getting way too hot. And yeah, it's definitely not one of my most clear recordings or one of my best recordings, but yeah, I was absolutely flabbergasted by what happened. I did not expect it at all. But looking back at it, I think I could have expected that that would happen. And that is because of how the disk drives work. Or no, it's because of how the Xboxes arrived. So I bought this on eBay, and I remembered later that the reason I bought these is because they were unopened. So the screws were still all intact, the plastic was not tampered with. So if the screws are not tampered with, then of course the disk drive is also not going to be tampered with. So very likely the position of the chip was intended as how it was on the motherboard, and I should never have touched it. So that is very dumb on my part. But I still wonder how it would burn the chip. And I'm assuming that one side of the chip is unconnected on some parts, but I'm not really sure how, because if I looked under the microscope before I did anything, it kind of looked connected, at least partially. I'm not too sure. I mean, if anyone has more knowledge about these disk drives, let me know in the comments. And yeah, most importantly, do not make the same mistake I did with this chip, because you see what can happen with that. I definitely recommend you do not touch anything or tamper with these chips unless you know what you're doing. and I hope this video was interesting to you, or at least of some value. If you enjoy this video, you can click the like button. Maybe you can subscribe if you want to see more of this content. I have a few more other videos about some different disk drives which I worked on. You can check that out. And yeah, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.